Earlier this week, we had somebody email us in the REDCap inbox asking if there was a way to build something like this picture. This was the picture they sent us in the email. They were trying to do it with the field matrix, and a field matrix would work, but the problem with the field matrix is that you can't have labels on both sides. You could have a field label on the left, but not on the right. And then they tried doing a sliding scale in REDCap, but the problem with the sliding scale is that it goes from 0 to 100, and they only wanted values 1 through 5. And so what I did was kind of mimicked this display by creating multiple fields and then using the field embedding to get it to look this way. So let me go to the project. And so you can see here in the field embedding, what I did was I created 5 separate fields that are just radio buttons, and I just left the field labels blank, and then I set the alignment to horizontal, and I created one for each question here. And then when I went into I created a descriptive field and then just created a table with 3 columns and 5 rows. And I put the values in that they wanted on the left and on the right. And then I just changed the alignment so that it's butting up against the values. And then I used the field embedding. And field embedding, if you guys don't know, is a way to create more dynamic layouts with REDCap using the rich text editor and field embedding. So instead of just having fields that just go, one right after the other, like REDCap does by default, you can create a table and have these fields put in the table cells. And so you can get as crazy as you want as long as you know how to build tables in HTML. And you could have these fields displayed any way you want. And the way you do that is similar to the way you do piping in REDCap, is that you put the field name, but instead of the brackets, you put the name of the field in curly braces, and that pulls in the field values for that. So if it's a text box, it'll show you a text box. If it's a drop down, it'll show the drop down. If it's check boxes or radio buttons, everything gets pulled in for display. And so what I did was I just tinkered with this, and you can resize the table. So I resized it just so it kind of snugged up a little bit, so it wasn't 100%. And if you're familiar with HTML and you know how to do some HTML coding, you can also go into the source code here. And this is what I did with the widths, is that once I got it to the size that I wanted, which was about 70%, I wanted the breakdown to be 25% for the left label, 50% for the middle field with the radio buttons, and then 25% for the right label. And so I just went and did that for every row. And then after that, you'll see here that if you embed a field, then REDCap will show you that this field is embedded somewhere on the page. And as far as I know, it doesn't have to be a field that is in that instrument. I think you can embed elsewhere or fields elsewhere as long as you do the curly braces. So let me show you how it looks if I add a record. So now if we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see here that it's similar to the picture that they had asked for. And you could get, a little more creative if you wanted to, and you remove these middle borders. So that way it's the entire row is bordered and it looks like it's all one row. You could also use some CSS to hide this reset button as well. But this was sort of a quick and dirty fix for them. And once I did this. I emailed it to them and asked them if this is something that, if this was what they wanted, and they said it's exactly what they wanted. So that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions on how I did that, or any other questions about field embedding?
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Can you just go back to the design for that instrument for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah, open out. Yeah, okay. So just create a new field somewhere at the bottom there. For the descriptive text.
Descriptive text?
Yeah, please. So, and use the rich text editor. Yeah, thanks. So I just want to make sure that people are clear if you haven't used the rich text editor before. When Manny built the table and was talking about HTML, make sure that you understand that there is the table icon there in the rich text editor, so that it will build that. So it was a 5x3, right? And so that got him, you could get started with that, and then you put in your whatever you wanted into your different columns, and then use that source like he was showing you. Yeah, perfect. And then just show them that source again. And you can see then that it allows you to play around with the width and any borders or whatever, but that got you started on your table, so you don't have to know the HTML for how to build a table, and how that the table rows and the table columns and all that. You don't need to know all of that. You want to be able to just jump on this and build it quickly without having to know a lot of HTML. And the more you play with it, the easier it will be. But it also allows you to learn a little HTML if you want, because once you start playing around, and then you can see how things get changed. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure to point that out, because we don't want you to have to learn how to program to make some of these things happen. REDCap constantly is trying to find ways to help you build these things without being a programmer. Just like down below there, where the cursor is, where your arrow is, Manny, it allows you to see where you can add a column or delete a row or whatever. So you don't have to know how to do a lot of programming. You just need to know where the icons are and how to insert something. And in this case, the key is to be able to use the curly brackets to be able to stick in that field so that it shows up there. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure to point that out. And does anyone else have a question or anything that we can help with? Because otherwise, we're going to go ahead and quit early. We are going to be, obviously we will, let's see, so obviously we won't be doing this for a couple weeks. We won't be until the first of the year that we'll be back. We will have a sort of skeleton team operating around the holidays. So we will be checking the REDCap mailbox. If somebody has a problem or whatever, please go ahead and feel free to email us at redcap@arizona.edu. Somebody will be checking at least daily, perhaps not the weekends, but we'll see. Anyway, Jim, did you have something that you wanted to say? I see that you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, it's just about this table. So there's the two labels on either side of it, waste of time, worthwhile, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. Can you label those buttons instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Because I have a set of something like strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree. And would that show up in the middle of the table with the buttons?
Yeah. So if it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because that's how I set the choices.
Okay.
But if I change this from 1 to strongly agree, then it would show up here as strongly agree, somewhat agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree. So it works the same way as a regular radio button
Okay.
field. And so whatever labels you put in here will get pulled in here because it basically just grabs this whole set of radio buttons and puts them where you want them to, and it basically embeds it in the HTML.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Good question. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. I hope you all have a great holiday, and we'll look forward to seeing you next year. Also, just a quick.
Oh, Terry, Carol wants to know how to remove the border.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure.
So if you wanted to remove the border for the whole table, you would just go to table properties. Let me see. And then your advanced border style would just be none. And it should save it. It might still display it. But what you can do is go into here and just do border as 0.
Why don't you look at it in real life and see what it looks like?
Yeah, and you can see here now that it's gone as like a dotted line. So the borders are gone. And then what you would do if you wanted to do, it's more complicated if you wanted to just do the border for this whole row, because you have to basically do a border top, a border left, a border bottom for this first cell. The second cell, you're going to do a border top and a border bottom, and then a border top, right, and bottom. And what you would do here is you would go into the HTML and you would just do border. You would do border top, 1 pixel, solid, and then we'll just say it's black. And then you would say border left, 1 pixel, solid. And I'm missing 1 0 here. And then border bottom, 1 pixel, solid. And you can see here that put the border in for that. And then you would add, so let me copy this. And then that one, you only need the border top and bottom for the middle. And then the right one, you need top, bottom, and right. So now it would show up like that. And if we go to see, and that's a little smoother. It definitely shows you that it's one row and that those are supposed to be connected. And so you could fix that. And once you have that for the top one, you would just copy and paste this line, for the rest of them.